Hey, Max.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, waking up. You?
Yeah, same. It's better. Now it's 10. It used to be
Yeah,
9.
yeah. It's less brutal. I got
Yeah,
5 hours instead
yeah.
of
I
4.
had some coffee already, so that.
I'm just
Yeah.
starting.
Rita is up sick. Let me ping Jane.
Hi, little one.
I have not heard back from Jay. Do you have anything for the agenda?
Well, I still need to do my share of the VAP rewritings, I guess. What is that? I've
I
been.
think we cut the release yesterday. There's 3.16.2. I made a mistake on the .1.
Mhm.
I already had the tag for some reason, but I didn't see it. So when I pushed it, it was like an older tag.
Oh yeah, I meant of like the constraint templates. Um, uh, wow. What was in my brain? Like there's a couple of constraint templates that I haven't run. Oh yeah, Jay's PR for the CI/CD for the library. Did that get through?
Yeah, I think we
Extracted.
can merge that now. He updated to 3.16.2, so I think it's
Mhm.
okay to merge,
I
right?
see. Yeah.
Okay. So if you can LGTM that one, I think we can merge that because that has been blocking the other PRs.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
As long as there's no like template code that needs revising in his PR. I forget
yeah,
if
I
he
don't think he
does.
changed that. I think he just changed .1 to .2. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, as existing, I'll need to refresh
Yep.
because if I remember right, he had a template. Uh, yeah. At some point, we need to address the driver target handler coupling thing, right? Like unsetting the object inside the driver itself. Uh, I'm curious what you felt or how you felt about the idea of let's just move the VAB driver into Gatekeeper. Uh, I think, because they're so tightly coupled, right? Like the VAP generation logic, really that's for Gatekeeper. That's part of the VAP engine.
Right.
This notion of setting object that's coupled to Gatekeeper, and it's VAP, right? So it's like a Kubernetes
Kubernetes
specific,
specific thing. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
yeah.
We don't
And
think
having,
something else can use that.
was it?
We don't think something else can use that. Part of the frameworks, like another Kubernetes thing.
Well, I think it would still be able to. It would just have to import Gatekeeper to do so, right?
I
Like
see.
I
So
was
we're just
still,
moving it from, yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, definitely possible. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of negatives, but yeah. I mean, I think the only thing will be the consistency, because we have like the Regos and frameworks, and then will we have code duplication because of this?
We'll have less code duplication, actually, because we'll be able to hopefully deduplicate some of the like mirrored logic around expansion.
I see.
Like the parsing of the labels, for instance, to see whether expansion is enabled, or however we're doing it. I think we switched, or we're going to switch to using a field. Oh yeah, what's the state of that? Um,
Which one?
there was some discussion a couple of weeks ago where we were going to stop relying on the annotation. I'm forgetting the genesis right now of
Oh, the
why that.
union WAP annotation?
Yeah, and start to rely on, oh right, enforcement action target. Right.
Oh, right. Yeah. I think Jay had the design doc for that one.
Okay, but it's still pending.
Yeah, that we need to get that one. Yeah. Merged.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. And we were like, yeah, it's known to be broken, but we're in
I don't
alpha.
remember where it landed. I need to look at the design doc.
Yeah, I think it landed, at least the notion, but we
Yeah.
haven't actually done it. Okay.
So yeah, I see. So instead of using annotation, we use the scoped EA for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
kind of trying to make sure we don't just like have exploding amounts of config surface.
Yeah. Hi, Martin. By the way, I just saw you
Yeah.
join. We're just chit-chatting.
Okay.
If you had any questions, yeah, feel free to ask.
Okay. Yeah, I had this might be a simple question for you guys. I am trying to import a JSON file in as a lib in my constraint template, and I don't know if that's possible or not. I thought it was, but the idea is that I have some data that's I would like to include in one of my constraint templates as a in our policy for Gatekeeper, and I'm just having issues with trying to import it.
Yeah, I don't think like I'm rusty on this one, but if I remember right, the how OPA ingests data versus how it ingests Rego, like the underlying OPA Golang library, I mean,
Yeah.
is slightly different. Um, and libs uses the Rego path. So I think you may not be able to get something like that to work unless we were to add like a new field, right? Which I'm not against doing. In the interim, you could just like inject the JSON into Rego. Like I think Rego does even have like a JSON parse ability. There may be a performance hit if you're parsing during evaluation, but you might also be able to embed raw JSON Not 100% sure on that one. That if there's a way for you to do that easily, that might like get you unstuck in the short term.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the performance hit. I'm just trying to figure out how to get access to this JSON data. Like we have it, like I'm getting an error basically stating that object cannot be used for rule name, and that's because of the way I have it laid out, I think, as a lib. But if I could, like you said, inject it somehow, I got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Oh, one concern. So maybe I spoke too soon about like adding a separate fields, just because, sorry for my cat. The where data is stored, Rego has this cache object. And like for performance and security reasons, constraint templates, basically they're compiled into separate Rego environment. Well, okay. No, okay, yeah. They're compiled into separate Rego environments.
Yeah.
But there's this shared data cache, right? So that when you watch pods or whatever, you're not like spending the amount of space to store all your pods times the number of constraint templates you have in RAM to be able to refer to those. You're just spending the amount of RAM it takes to cache your pods once. And if they use that same data cache, which I think is likely, at least right now, the situation would be that one, if we tried to do it that way, like I don't think it would be possible because you would lose isolation. Like it wouldn't just be that constraint template that would have
Yeah.
access to that data. It would be every constraint template.
Yeah.
I do think it would be useful to rejigger how caching works, such that like if you could have composable caches, um, that's work that I've been trying to get done, honestly, for a couple of years, probably now at this point, uh, because I think it would be useful to have access to cached data in something like Sal as well, right? And we hit the same problem there of not wanting to not wanting to duplicate the cache.
Yeah.
Yeah, there may be other solutions for isolation, like forcing some namespacing when data is accessed, or using the with statement. But long term, like composable cache objects seem like they would provide better data isolation and unblock some of these other use cases. Right. Oh, including the ability to query. Like it'd be nice if instead of iterating over a path spec when you query data, if you could do kind of like Kubernetes native selectors, right? Like give me all pods in this namespace with this label or set of labels. And if you were able to have custom lookup functions, which you could have with a custom cache,
Yeah.
that could maybe simplify Rego writing of referential templates for people. Anyway, sorry for the long context there.
Okay.
But so where does that leave you? Are you okay with this notion of trying to inject JSON into Rego, at least in the medium term, or
Yeah, I'm looking for any sort of path forward at this point.
Let me see. So Rego. Actually, let me. Thank you, autocomplete. Open policy agents. I'm just looking through Rego's library functions. Feel free to interrupt me, anyone, too, if you have thoughts here. Dun, dun, dun. Also, where is the chat bar? There it is.
If it'll help, I can give you more context by showing you my screen of what I.
Yeah, I mean, I always like more context for sure.
Okay. All right. And to be honest, I have to get ready to head out. Let me see if I can share.
I just also looking for what the JSON parsing function is.
Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. Give me 1 second. Here's me.
Okay.
So
I wanted to also bring back that chat. Here's the JSON.unmarshal in Rego. So at the very minimum, like if you can just wrap it in string quotes, you should be able to call that to unmarshal it.
okay. So you're saying like this portion right here. Just add quotes around it and add it to my Rego file, my regular Rego file.
Yeah, and even if you wanted to put it in libs, you could, right? You could just do like variable colon equal. I forget if Rego lets you do global variables. If not, you could just have a rule that returns a string.
Okay.
That is that.
I'll just do this, see what happens. Like that.
Yeah, and you need to wrap it in quotes. And I'm forgetting if Rego has any special like triple quote you could use Python style, for instance.
Oh, okay.
Like if that's true, then it's a little easier. Like you don't need to figure out how to escape the quotes. Not that it's too terrible if you do.
Okay.
But yeah, and then you can also save the caller from needing to parse by defining a function that does parse within your library.
Okay.
Again, this is probably slower than using data directly because you're parsing JSON takes time. So it's not ideal, but
okay.
yeah, and the way you have that with the double quotes, you would just need to probably escape the pre-existing double quotes with
Oh yeah, like this. Backslash.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll take care of that. All right, I have to go drop my son off. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, thank you for coming by. Sorry, there's not an easier or more efficient way of doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if I should just, because I created these JSON files because I thought I'd be able to just import it directly. I wonder if I should just make it a Rego file and just say, hey, this data is a list, right? At that point, it'll be a little bit simpler. That way I can just access it like I would with any other import.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. Parameters is an option, but then you need to write it out to every constraint.
Yeah.
You could write it as a referential constraint template, but then you have eventual consistency of like waiting for it to sync.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, writing it as Rego is I think probably the easiest.
Okay. All right. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you, Martin.
It also occurs to me he would get Rego indexing if he used Rego. So it might actually be more performant than using JSON and data. Like potentially. Or OPA indexing? I forget. Query indexing, whatever they call it.
Yeah. Cool. Did we had any other topics you wanted to discuss?
So we talked about potentially moving VAP, or we were sort of 75, 80% through talking about moving the
Yeah.
engine.
I'm open to it. I want to make sure that Rita is also okay with it. But yeah, I mean, I think if you can make it easier, only thing I see is I mean, if it's less code duplication, better. Only thing is like now there's two places that we add engines, so it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, like I kind of view engines as something people can bring their own. So I'm not as concerned about that personally, though I do agree if you're purely looking to consume K8s, but on the other hand, if you're needing to consume K8s, you need Gatekeeper's target handler anyway, right? So I don't think we're making anything worse for any downstream users.
Yeah.
It
Do we want to make any engines, like, I'm just thinking out loud, like out of the tree?
Any engines out of the tree, like which
Yeah.
tree?
Like out of Gatekeeper or frameworks?
Well, I think if someone gets inspired at some point and wants to write their own engine, right,
Okay.
that would be certainly a use case. I think that also if there are other examples of engines that are highly coupled to, I'm going to call it a target, right? Like Kubernetes is a target.
Yeah.
Like let's imagine Terraform. They decide they want to use constraint framework and they want to wrap Sentinel or something in an engine, right? Like maybe that comes with a Terraform target handler as an example. There's kind of an inherent tension here of, do you want a centralized index of things or do you want people to write their own and bring their own, or do you do some like combination of both, right? And distributed as discoverability issues, but on the other hand, uh, centralized, we wind up with like this rebasing thing that we're talking about, now that we are not rebasing, but every time we make a change, we need to touch two repos rather than just the one. The only other thing I'm thinking of honestly is not having two engines makes the engine abstraction like a little weird to look at in isolation. Like, I don't think that's a deal breaker, but like if you were to look at the constraint framework and you're like, why did you bother creating this like engine object? We could point to the test engine, but
That makes sense. And then, I mean, I guess like where would be the future engines? Would it like how would we decide? Would it go into frameworks versus Gatekeeper?
I think if it's a target agnostic engine, it goes in frameworks, right? Like Rego is a perfect example of an engine that definitely belongs in frameworks.
Mhm.
Like all it expects for an input is JSON. So whereas VAP, we have all these Kubernetes types, right? Like if you try to hand it anything other than an admission review wrapped in a GK review object, it's gonna complain. So if we were to, and let's just stick with the cell theme for a second here, if we were to take cell and like in addition to VAP, make like a generic cell thing that doesn't have any assumptions, right? Like it just takes an unstructured object effectively, or an arbitrary JSON object. that would belong in the constraint framework as a core thing.
Makes sense.
SQL. Very good.
And so I'm just thinking, like, I didn't get a chance to look at it recently, but like, would do we want to like merge the LLM engine as like an experimental thing for the next release?
Oh yeah, sorry. We should. Yeah.
I haven't even looked at it recently. I didn't have any chance. So that'd be would it be under the gatekeeper or would it be under the frameworks?
Is there anything Kubernetes specific about it?
I think that the prompt is Kubernetes specific, but we could make it generic if we want to, because it is looking for the, I think, I don't remember what I put. The admission request, that's what I put in.
Yeah. Okay. I would say that's maybe determinative. At least for the line I have in my head.
Because that would, if we need to, then it will require a little refactor. We need to move the cell first. I mean, the case needs a validation first, and then that one. That one's going to take like forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and moving cells should be trivial. Like, yeah, there's no circular dependencies in the frameworks. You know, famous last words, but the only like detail I could see where maybe the AI stuff, even if it's K8s specific, might belong in frameworks, is I'm not yet sold. Like there may be a difference between gator specific or gatekeeper specific and K8s specific.
Yeah.
It seems to me like those should always map, but who's to say we don't have different Kubernetes target handlers, right? Like I was saying a while back, we should have an admission target handler and we should have like a static file target handler or whatever it is, right? And state-based target handler or whatever. And so I could certainly invent a world where there is stuff that is not using Gatekeeper's target handler or any of Gatekeeper's target handlers, but is still looking at KRM objects. And such an engine, it wouldn't be a problem if it lived in Gatekeeper, right? Like people could still consume it. But from a pure logical standpoint, things should live next to the things that define them, right? And whether such an engine is defined by Gatekeeper, given it doesn't use any of its target handlers, you could sell me either way at this point.
Yeah, let's have this conversation when Rita is here. Then we can make a decision. And Jay, we were just talking about moving the case native validation engine to Gatekeeper code, not in frameworks.
Okay. Yeah, I do recall we have talked about this in the last to last gatekeepers meeting as well.
Yeah, a while back. We were also wondering about. So a while ago, we were thinking about using the per target enforcement actions rather than using labels, gate, VAP generation. I think I'm trying to like remember the state. Surtesh was saying you had written a design doc. What is that right? And was it blocked on anything, or are we still like actively pursuing that thread?
Jake,
Sorry.
I think Max was asking where are we at the design doc for the scope TA that for the VAP.
Oh, I started the implementation. That's where the discussion of adding a field in template for enabling and generating VAP came from, right? And then I started implementing that. Um,
Yeah, we landed on a decision, right? For that one.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So for scoped EA, what we decided was to have a VAP as its own enforcement point, and based on, so since we are planning to include that, we decided on removing the annotation which are there right now to use VAP and enable VAP generation as well, and move towards adding a field or a boolean field like generate VAP or something on template spec to replicate the same behavior.
And is it easier for you if we do that work before moving the engine or after? What do you think? To Gatekeeper's repository.
I mean, I'm already halfway through that work, and then we decided for
Yeah.
migrating cell or writing cell policies. So I had to pause that work and work on enabling cell validation for Gatekeeper library and writing cell source codes for some of the PSP policies.
Yeah, let's finish the work before we like move it again. So maybe Jay can do both the work, the library and the scope TA, and then we move the engine if he decided to do that.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Otherwise, we just keep postponing stuff.
Cool.
Sorry, can you remind me then the conclusion of this conversation? I missed it.
The
So we are
conclusion was,
moving cell engine code to Gatekeeper, right?
that's my thought. Surtesh was saying he wanted to hear Rita's thoughts before
Okay.
Yeah.
officially.
It's not blocking anything, so I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's a quality of life thing, really. Like maintainability over time, but ultimately would just keep us from needing to push to 2 repos every time we make a tweak.
Yeah, and then let's also get the LLM engine for the 317. We'll just keep it experimental. And no promises to anybody.
About anything about it.
Yeah, I know anything about it. Use at your own risk. It might take over the world, or it can say yes or no to a policy.
Now, can we also create an AI controller in Gatekeeper that takes like some string of like some policy they want to achieve for their whole cluster, and then it will like dream up the constraints and templates?
I mean, yeah, I think that's possible. Like, sort of like, hey, like enforce pod security standards or something like that. Like, like the baseline or restricted or something like that.
Yeah. Like honestly, I might put that in Gator. Like, and then users can like it'll
Yeah.
spew it out, they could review it and apply it. Like that's probably a safer model. Yeah. Oh no, our wheels turning?
Hey, don't give me any ideas.
You will AI it.
Yes, I will. I deleted all the gatekeeper code, replaced with AI. It's like single sentence.
honestly, yeah, if something could like just implicitly have reconciliation loops, that could make coding a lot easier. Because those things have so many edge cases, right? I don't know if AI is really the thing to do that yet for like performance reasons and like reliability reasons, but or imagine readiness tracker, right? Like readiness tracker, it's like a dead simple condition, really, on the surface of please ingest everything before you start serving. But you try to like write that out as code, and there's a whole bunch of edge cases that require like thinking through specific situations, like okay, what if there's an error watching a thing, what do you do there, right? um I don't know. Yeah, what do you think about people using AI to kind of like express overall intent and just relying on it doing the right thing when an unanticipated case comes up? Like, I think not now, but ever.
I don't know. Yeah, good question. Like how do you make sure it's reliable, like the sort of predictable? Yeah. That's a big question.
Yeah. Gosh, wow. Yeah, it's funny. The cost savings here is basically I have this thing, I didn't bother to think it fully through, but I know generally what I want. Can you please fill in the gaps? Is that like the AI value proposition for coding? Anyway, sorry if this is a boring digression.
I'm just multitasking. Yeah, cool. So yeah, let's do that in 317. Any other blockers for anything near? And then Jay is working on the enabling. I think Max, you need to finalize the review on the library PR, and then we'll have a CI to checking Rego policies. I think they'll want to unblock most of the stuff. And then sounds like Jay is implementing the scope DA now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I already have two policies, cell code for two policies, and I was working on the third one. So should I just post that and finish up like scoped enforcement action thing first, and then focus on policies? Because I know we wanted to have some policies out there since 316 is released for cell.
Well, do you feel like you're getting faster at rewriting templates? Like, is the cell coming easier now, or like how
It's a
long?
it's a little bit easier, but I started with fairly simple policies to begin with, like volumes and SEL Linux. Now that I'm on to user policy and seccom policy, those are lengthier policies to begin with. So I am getting faster, but it's taking me much longer to convert those because the policies itself are more complex than the first ones that I worked on.
Honestly, I still think like building up the proficiency with cell generally across us is probably the better bet, right? Because then we can talk a little bit more knowledgeably when we're making these decisions about like what do you do with cell generally, right? Like we know what it can do, we know what's hard about it, we know what, tricks around dealing with it, and we know then how whatever choices may impact those.
Yeah. Conditional logic is really difficult with cell. Like it's been difficult to figure out. Like for example, I was working on users policy, and uh, like it has different output messages for different conditions, like whether or not a field is missing, whether or not policy has like rule as must run as non-root, then specific conditions on object it has itself has to be met, and those kinds of combinations are difficult to implement uh, with cell. Like if it's simple if else, it's easier, but if it's like if this then this, not if that then this kind of thing, then it's like progressively complex thing to accomplish with cell. That's the part
And
that I needed to brainstorm the most.
is there stuff that it naturally you could sort of decompose into cell variables and then just wrap that higher level if statement, so the variables are just inputs to that higher level if statement?
Yeah, I'm trying to, but it's like not as intuitive as I thought it would be, for me at least. Like it's difficult to break down Rego logic to a true or false statement and then combine those individual true or false statements into a cell expression to achieve the same result.
Yeah. Yeah, it does kind of like require really knowing both languages because you
Yeah.
got to think how everything like folds out. Let me know if you like have questions, right? Like could put up like a draft PR or something. Like I'm just trying to figure out how to do this, and I could try to come up with some ideas.
Okay. Yeah, once this like the CI policy is in, the PR for CI is in, I already have two cell policies written, so I'll raise those PR and see if I got it right or not, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, it'll take me a couple hours today, but I'll get to your CI PR today. Sorry for being distracted. Yeah, but I will do that.
Cool, no worries.
Yeah, I just took a few notes just for the meeting.
Notes or it didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, please add any other things that I missed in context.
No, what did I do with the note stock? Oh, there it is. Scope DA, just stuff. We mentioned the AI.
Oh yeah, I forgot them. Yeah. Yeah, please take a look at the PR on the frameworks map so we can merge it. I'll try to put more work on it. I think Rita had one comment. Yeah. And I don't want to give it more permissions than it needs to be. Like we could add more stuff like the access to the cluster, that sort of stuff. But yeah, let's not do that for now.
Don't want to give what more permissions?
to the driver. Like you could say, hey, here are all the, say the, I don't know, config maps or something like that, right? So you can do like referential. Technically, you could do all of that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, let's.
Yeah, let's not do that. Yeah. So let's just start with like small. Yeah. It
Can
currently doesn't have any access to anything.
can I write something in constraint that alters the state of a resource in on cluster? Like, is that possible right now?
I mean, you would
No.
need to give it like some sort of token or some like a kube config, that sort of stuff. Probably.
Yeah, if it had access to the API server directly, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
So
Yeah.
technically, it could do that. So you could give like a way to call the API, and you could give it the service token, so it can do whatever in the cluster. You could delete pods, it could create pods, whatever. Yeah. But we're
External
not doing
data is.
Yeah, so you could do external data too. Yeah, I mean, it's you can give it any tool, right? So you basically give a tool, hey, here's how it works. Here's the inputs, here's the outputs, and then it could call those tools and then get back the results and understand them. So we could extend it like a lot more than just the way it is today.
But just with Gatekeeper itself, no. Like validating webhooks cannot mutate resources. Audit does not mutate resources. I don't think Gators are back even. Like it has view permissions, but it doesn't have general write permissions.
Yeah, that will also be obviously blocked because of the that sort of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
even though it has the token, it cannot it cannot send back because of the RBAC. But it could read things like secrets, that sort of stuff. I don't know if we have access to them as part of Gatekeeper. So that would not be. Yeah.
We do, yeah. And also we have write access to mutating webhook configurations, right? So you could, in theory, leverage that to like basically start forcing state on the cluster, right? Like create an endpoint, create a mutating webhook that points to that endpoint. That
Oh, I
endpoint
see.
to
Yeah.
whatever you want. Yeah. So yeah, not super great that, but Gatekeeper out of the box has the ability to like it listens to all requests. It's mutating webhook anyway, so it's not like that much extra surface, and users can lock it down if they want to.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else? You can give some time back if we don't have anything else.
I'd appreciate a couple of minutes before my next meeting starts.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you all.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.